I want to start by asking you about the importance. How important is it to create your own roles in the film industry? To create your own opportunities?
I think it's increasingly important, or it's proven that it needs to be important. Whatever version of those sentences I truly mean. It's when you've done it the once, it's quite addictive. Because, you know, artists in most other fields don't have to sit around waiting for the phone to ring the way an actor does. So to take things into your own hands, even if it takes you 7 years to get to set, if I do it again, I'm hoping that it will be a shorter gestation period. But also it's a massive learning curve, because I think you truly understand, especially for someone who was trained in theatre originally, you truly understand the mechanics of filmmaking and, you know, by extension, TV making. You sort of get a front row seat at the process of all those conversations that happen the other side of the camera, and I think it really gives you a certain perspective on the industry that you wouldn't have had before.
Great. So where did In Darkness come from? Were you just thinking, God, I would love for a film like this to exist and I could play this kind of character if only the script was here?
Anthony Byrne, the director, and my other half, was flirting with this idea of a blind woman hearing a murder in an apartment block. A psychological thriller is the kind of movies that as a couple we enjoyed watching, Hitchcock and film noir. And, you know, that's one of like our sort of favourite genres. So it was, he had this idea that had been loitering in the back of his brain, and he was trying to find a co-writer to do it with. And he would come back when he'd met a potential writer, frustrated, and he'd be like, they don't get it, they're just not understanding what I'm saying, because this is 2009, so it's like pre-Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, pre-Black Swan. There's been a lovely renaissance in psychological thriller now. We're kind of like au fait with it, you know. We see it on, you know, on our TV screens all the time now, but, you know, 9 years ago it wasn't so much. And he was like, but these co-writers I'm meeting, he's like, they're just not getting it. And it was him, in fairness to Anthony, who turned around and said, well, you're frustrated at the moment now. I know you're really frustrated by the scripts that are landing in front of you. Why don't you write it with me? And I was like, wow, yeah, okay.
And how does that process work? Do you have like different bits that you fight over? Do you get really precious over certain scenes?
I did raise my voice, yes, I will admit that. There might have been an occasional slamming of doors. All me, of course. No, what you learn to do quite quickly, in all seriousness, is not to write in the same room. We worked out that we would allocate each other a scene, and then we would go away, work on a scene, and then swap it back, amend it, give it back to the other person. So it was kind of this exchange, and that's the way we grew. And then after we got, you know, we got the first draft out quite quickly, like within 2 months, and then producers got involved and support come in, and you get external notes, and you know, the process builds, quite frankly. Anthony is a reasonably calm, patient human being. I'm not so patient, so I learnt a whole new skill set.
Fantastic. Did you find it easier or more difficult playing Sophia? Being that closer to her, having written so much of her? Easier, because her psychology is something that I'd been working on for 6.5 years. So by the time we got to set, it was coming up to 7 years. So I knew her inside out, and Anthony knew her inside out, because she was a hybrid of, you know, both of our ideas. So the beauty in that situation is when you're on a 25-day shoot and you're under the gun because it's independent filmmaking, and you're out on the street and you've only got chance for 2 takes, we didn't have to waste time as a director and lead talking to each other about, you know, the finer points of characterization, because we just both knew where we were on the level, which was a massive help for efficiency. Great, yeah, you could just put her on. For my final question, I want to ask, what do you love about In Darkness?
What do I love about In Darkness? Yeah. I love that In Darkness is a passion project, and it felt like, it really felt like a family. Everyone who did this gig, from the gorgeous Ed Skrine to our amazing cinematographer, Simon Bell, did it as because they loved the script and they cared about Anthony and me, and they got what we were trying to do with like sort of a contemporary, slick, modern psychological thriller set in London that you don't see very often. So I love that we were surrounded by our peeps, and that it really felt like a team effort.